welcome to another edition of the House Whisperer Show on WWDB Talk 860. I'm Barry Reisman, inviting you to stay tuned for expert advice about maintaining your house from the roof to the basement and everything in between. And Jack Milne he's the guy that tells us that every house has a story. And let's say good morning to professional home inspector Jack Milne. How you doing today, Jack?
Well, great, Barry. It's post-Thanksgiving. I felt like I put about 10 pounds on, but with the occupation of choice here, I think I'll be losing it fairly quick. But, I like the gathering times. It's, it gives everybody a chance to reflect a little bit. And like I said last week, I had a birthday that kind of came and went, which makes me a year older and hopefully a year wiser. But with today's segment, I wanted to kind of bring in what's about to happen next, and that's Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and Christmas, and I always think safety. And I'm going from two different parallels. One's going to be about ladder safety, and the other is going to be about safety in the kitchen. And it might be two of the things that we kind of take for granted, but where ladder safety might be more male than female dominated, I find that the kitchen tends to be an all-out war. So before we kick in, I'd like to thank my sponsors, because without them, I wouldn't be chatting with you all today. So Bucks Mountain Inspections, Rob Bowie, I saw him last week on inspection, and the guy's just amazing with what he does, out there inspecting on-site sewage systems. So you can reach out to him at bucksmountainspections.com. It's a great website. It gives their backgrounds, and especially what I like about it, it gives Rob's history through the years. Borough Exterminating, simply again, the website is boroughexterminating.com. They're out of Glen Olden, Pennsylvania. They do termite as well as radon testing, and again, extremely thorough, very knowledgeable in their craft. Pest Blaster, they're out of Hamilton, New Jersey, but they do get involved with radon testing, mold testing, wood-destroying insect evaluations, as well as pest removal. So again, at this time of year, houses are getting closed up. If you feel the scampering over your ceilings or down in the basement, or you see what I call the little mice pellets, it might be time to go ahead and set some traps and catch those little guys. And especially mold. Mold is the new four-letter word meaning gold. So if you're finding that you're getting too much moisture and mildew, especially in your crawl spaces and attic environments, why don't you get your house tested? And then if need be, you can always hire a home inspector to come out to try to determine the source of the mold so it doesn't come back. BrainFlushGear.com. I mean, it's as simple as that. Their email is contact@BrainFlushGear.com. It is going to be the holidays. If you need something that's particular, fanciful to your family or friends, they can make it. And so very creative with those folks. I love them. And then Tri-County Inspection Company. Again, I started Tri-County back in 1985, 5 full-time home inspectors, a staff that when you call will pick up the phone. We even monitor the phones over the weekends. I have to tell you, folks, I mean, even though it's the beginning of what I call the holiday season with Thanksgiving behind us, we've been busy. And we've been doing a ton of commercial work where maybe it's because it is the end of the year, they want to get those tax incentives in. But even on the real estate side of the market, buyers are excited, sellers are excited. I know there's always that threat of snow in front of us and a little bit behind us, but it's this market has been hot, and the interest rates are good. The Dow Jones is high, so these are all good criteria to go ahead and put your toe in the water and test the real estate market. And for those of you who rent, just keep in mind someone else is making that money and you're not getting any equity. So it's time to look around, and just a wonderful, wonderful time to buy real estate. But our website is tcinspect.com. Check us out. Get to know us a little bit more than me just chatting to you on Sunday mornings. And let us help you, either buy or sell your home. So a quick trip to the email box. Jennifer from Oxford, Pennsylvania. And I know where Oxford is because it seems to take me 2 days to get there, but it's almost right on the border with Maryland. And she sent me an email. She goes, Jack, I heard your show a few weeks ago about thermostats. My dad still believes that during the air conditioning season that fan switch should be on the auto position, not on. Can you re-explain it for him? An avid listener, Jennifer. Well, Dad, I hope you're listening because this is why we put the fan controls on when air conditioning. And I'll try to give you the cliff notes, Jennifer. Basically, with the thermostat being on the lowest level of the home, not the basement, but the primary level, if you keep the fan switch to the auto position, then the thermostat gets satisfied because it's by the cold air return. Because the second floor is directly under the attic, which makes the second floor more basically uncomfortable during the summer months, because you're trying to temper your living space to maybe 74, 75 degrees, but that attic environment above your ceiling, 9 inches away from insulation, can be as high as 140 to 160 degrees. So what we want to do, Dad, is we want to go ahead and keep the fan to the on position so that we can pull and draw that air from that second floor, blend it with the cooler air, and thus balance the home. So I think the biggest fear is that most people think that condensing unit outside is going to run more, where actually it doesn't. It will be the blower motor that's below the furnace will operate more, but that costs a lot less than operating that condensing unit outside. So filter changes are going to be more important because the fan's going to be on more, so stay on top of that. But, our theory as home inspectors is to make the house work to the best of its potential. I ask that you try it, and you're going to find that your house is more comfortable. Remember, air conditioning is about humidity control. It's not about making our house an icebox. So if you like that 74, 75-degree temperature, I dare you to try your fan to the on position and set it for 77, 78 degrees, and you'll probably feel comfortable. For those of us who can get away on the weekends over the summer, don't turn your air conditioner off, turn it up. Put it to 80 degrees with the fan on, because in this way, when you get home and you lower that temperature back down to that 76, 77 degrees, it'll only take you about a half hour to bring your house back to the temperate zone, where instead of waiting overnight and then you'll feel cool in the morning. So, Jennifer, thank you for the email. I appreciate that. Please, any emails or suggestions for the show, please email me at thehousewhisperershow@gmail.com. Or for previous shows, please visit thehousewhisperershow.com. And I always like this with DB, 24/7. The podcast is available at www.dbam.com. So you can pull it up on your computer, your smartphone, and hear the show again. So let's get started. Today's show is about holiday safety. Be prepared. So now, with Thanksgiving in the recent past, like I mentioned earlier, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and Christmas all fall in December. The turkey hasn't even been digested yet. Now all the holiday stuff emerges from the attic, the garage, and the crawl space. So no matter which God we revere, the celebration of life is really all the same. And we may all gather with family and friends to reflect as to why we are here in the first place, and hopefully make a difference in someone's life before we depart to that special place that I like to call upstairs. So without getting too emotional, let's start with ladder safety. First off, if you're afraid of heights, stay on the ground. Don't feel like you have to flex your muscles and get that ladder out and go 3 or 4 rungs up and say, wow, I've never been this tall before in my life. Sometimes it's easier to stick with a standard step stool. And remember, though, don't get off balance, because with step stools, your center of gravity is limited to your feet, and your feet may only be literally 6 inches away from each other. So if you're trying to bend one way or another, anytime that your shoulders are outside of the alignment of your hips, it can tend to throw you off balance. 3-foot step ladders can be just as dangerous as an extension ladder. my brother-in-law stepped off the wrong side of a 3-foot step ladder, and he broke his leg. It got caught kind of in what I call the webbing, which is that X brace on the other side of the treads. He was out of work for about 6 to 7 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. So even a 3-foot step ladder, you have to make sure you retain your balance. And believe me, folks, even as a home inspector, as I'm working around my house, it's amazing, 3 steps up, 3 steps down, but I've had that opportunity where I stepped down the wrong side of the ladder. I was able to catch my balance, but, stupid hurts. So, make sure that you do things, slowly and methodically, and especially as you work off a ladder. If you feel that you have to go on the roof, I ask that you wear the appropriate shoes. As a home inspector, when I buy shoes, I kind of look like a bull, ready to rush that red thing, Barry. I forget what they call it, that the matador holds.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The cape.
The cape,
yeah, right.
Or maybe his cape. But,
right.
I actually intentionally want to try to scuff my shoes to see if my feet move. Because if they do, I'm not going to buy the shoes. So in my career path, my shoes can be my life. So if I slide off that roof, it's going to upset my wife.
I think you're right.
More than the fall itself. So, I ask that you maybe consider a good pair of sneakers. Topsiders I tend to use, but again, they're more for slippery boat surfaces. But at the same time, I like a good lace.
This would be a good time for a shoe sponsor commercial, but we have to take a break for...
Oh, my God, it's time already.
Yeah, it's time for a little break, and we'll come right back. Meantime, I'll check my shoes. Back with Jack Milne here at WWDB, the House Whisperer Show.
Boro Exterminating has been specializing in wood-destroying insect inspection and control for over 40 years, serving Philadelphia and the surrounding counties. All inspectors are state certified and ensure providing their clients with professional inspections and treatments. Boro not only performs conventional termite treatments, but also handles special services like historic buildings and homes with wells, creeks, or ponds. The client is assured that all treatments will be performed safely when you hire Boro to do the work. They also provide radon testing in their service area. Boro's full-time office staff is available to help you schedule an appointment. Just call 610-586-5640 or send an email request to boroinspects@verizon.net. That's 610-586-5640 or email at boroinspects@verizon.net.
Specially created t-shirts by BrainFlushGear.com offer the extreme sports enthusiast an opportunity to have a clothing line available that suits their sport. BrainFlushGear.com understands that when we get the moment where we can jump on our motorcycles, wave runners, surfboards, snowmobiles, or skateboards, it can be priceless. They offer custom artwork including silk screening, transfers, and embroidery. Speak to one of their consultants today and they'll help you create your own Brain Flush. Visit BrainFlushGear.com or email them at contact@BrainFlushGear.com.
For your septic inspection and testing needs, please consider Bucksmont Inspections. They've been serving the Bucks and Montgomery County areas for over 15 years. As members of the Pennsylvania Septic Management Association, the Pennsylvania Association of Sewage Enforcement Officers, and the Pennsylvania Association for Professional Soil Scientists, Bucksmont Inspections can inspect your existing septic system or test for your new septic system placement. Please call Rob Bowie at 215-669-4213 and say you heard their ad on the House Whisperers Show.
As the weather gets cooler and the temperatures drop, the bugs might slow down, but the rodents don't stop. Mice and rats begin to invade homes during the fall and winter months, looking for food, warmth, and a comfortable place to nest. Don't wait for pesky rodents to invade your home. Fight back. Have your home baited and ready for their attack with Pest Blaster. Whether preventative or a full-blown infestation, give Pest Blaster a call at 215-295-5555 and they can discuss the solution to your problem. They also offer humane animal removal services for a wide variety of wild animals, damage repairs, and cleanups. Call them today at 215-295-5555 or check them out at pestblaster.com, servicing both New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Pest Blaster, 215-295-5555 or pestblaster.com for all your pest control needs.
Tri-County Inspection Company has been providing professional home inspections, commercial inspections, and historic property evaluations for over 25 years. Tri-County Inspection Company covers 13 counties, serving both New Jersey and Pennsylvania. They've performed inspections for over 70,000 clients and are members of the American Society of Home Inspectors, as well as the Pennsylvania Home Inspectors Coalition. They are licensed in both Philadelphia and New Jersey. For all of your real estate transactions, call Tri-County Inspections at 215-295-2030. For their New Jersey clientele, call 856-853-4224. In PA, call 215-295-2030. In New Jersey, 856-853-4224.
Okay, we are back. Jack Milne is here. He is the House Whisperer. And Jack, can't wait to hear what you have to say for the second part of the program.
Well, thank you, Barry. We're talking about making access to the roof. And again, before you broke for the commercial, I said make sure you get a good shoe with laces and consider work boots as well. But what I do is when I get to the top of the ladder, I secure the ladder to a what I call a hidden hanger or spike and furrow with a bungee cord. And when I extend the ladder, I don't go any more than a foot above the gutter edge and no higher. And the reason why, it becomes awkward to climb back down. And I find that the most dangerous part of a roof access is the first foot on and the first foot off. So the bungee will help keep the ladder from moving one way or the other, and especially if the wind's blowing. So you want to make sure that once you're on the roof, you make sure you can get off the roof. Now, balance is critical. If the roof is too steep, don't attempt it. And if you have another roof line, like my house is a standard two-story colonial, so what I do is I put one ladder to my lower gutter edge, I strap it down, then I bring another ladder up, typically a step ladder, so that I can get onto the next roof line. So this way your primary is there, and then you bring a smaller one up with you. Now, I tell my folks, lay the step ladder above the existing ladder, so if by accident the step ladder slips, it's going to stop at the extension ladder. Because all of a sudden, as you lay it down and you climb to get on the roof and that ladder starts sliding down, well, all of a sudden you're not thinking of your own personal safety. You're going to try and grab the ladder before it falls off the gutter edge. So by placing the smaller ladder above the extension ladder, if by chance it does fall or slide, it's getting caught. So going up to the ridge is easier than going back down towards the ladder. So what I mean by that is now that you've done your lighting and you want to work your way back down to the ladder, it's easier going up the roof than down the roof. And I think because when you going up to the ridge, you're not looking behind you, whereas you walk down the roof, you are looking in front of you, and you can see that there's a ladder, there's a gutter edge, and down there's the ground. So every once in a while, man, I'm not proud. I do what I call a crab walk. And what I'll do is I'll put my feet down in front of me, my hands down behind me, and I walk forward, with 4 points of contact on the roof. So if you have to slide the step ladder back down, again, put it to the top of the extension ladder, and then what I do is I put one hand on the what I call the horse or the side of the ladder. I put one knee on the roof, and then I pivot and put my foot to the center of the rung, and then I bring my other foot around. do not get on the ladder with the rung above the gutter itself, because the ladder is going to be off balance and you can tend to slide. So don't overextend to the side to clip your lights. What I tell my clients to do is move the ladder. Okay, so even if you have to move 3 to 5 feet at a time, again, once your body extends past the rungs, your hips are this center of gravity, and the shoulders being broader than the hips will tend to make you slide or your ladder slide. So, we don't want anyone falling off the roof or particularly the edge of the roof. One of my neighbors fell from one upper roof line to the lower roof line. Fortunately, he didn't bounce and land in the shrubs. So I do ask you, again, take your time and remember, what you have to put up, you're going to have to take down in a few weeks. So for those who celebrate Christmas, the decoration of the tree is always a family tradition. Once again, a ladder comes out of the garage. Never step on the top rung, especially with an A-frame ladder, because the reason that they put that little note up there is that there's nothing to brace your shins on. Your shins are the front of your legs between your knee and your ankle. So what the manufacturer wants you to do is keep your feet on the lower tread, lean forward so your shins will help maintain your balance. So that's why they don't want you at the top. There's nothing in front of you. For the tree, what I call the three-legged tree stand, make sure that the eye bolts hold the tree securely and that it's kept full of water. Because when you have a few hundred bulbs, regardless of the wattage, the heat's going to dry out the tree and cause fires. You've got to fill that little pan daily. It's really amazing how fast a tree can drink water. If it's a fake tree, well, then you don't have to worry about the water. The next part of this little episode for today is about cooking. And all family gatherings involve cooking. I think besides ladders, kitchen safety is always second on my list. And you have to be careful because we're dealing with all ages of people. We've got the 2-year-old who's just learned to walk, from the 85-year-old who may need a cane to walk. It tends to be a beehive of activity. There's a lot of things that I want to put in front of you today that I want you to think about. And I think it's that old saying, too many cooks in the kitchen can spoil a good meal. So I always believe that the homeowner should set the rules. I mean, I understand everyone wants to contribute, but honestly, since I don't cook, I'm the official social coordinator, and I know my role. But again, if you have too many people at the stove, sink, or refrigerator, chaos happens. And the reason they call it the sink, the stove, or the refrigerator, that's actually called the work triangle. And so when kitchens are laid out, the kitchen designer wants to make sure that the kitchen triangle is laid out in a way that when you have multiple people in the kitchen, you try not to bump into each other, but you know what? It's going to happen and chaos occurs. Now, as we all know, everybody brings a plate, which is awesome, but just like the general on the battlefield, organization is the key. I do try to ask that you keep the small kids out of the kitchen completely. And this is why, at the holidays, we have grandparents, we have aunts and uncles to help out. Also, make sure that you turn your pans on the cooktop inward. In other words, if you're a 2-year-old and you can look up and you see the handle of that pan sticking out between the oven and the floor, there's not much to take to go to have that young child reach up and grab the handle, and you don't know, and they don't know, what's in that pot or in that frying pan. So make sure you turn your handles inward to prevent an accidental spillage. And, of course, scalding. Do not have a person who is not familiar with the cook's oven setting controls. We always hear that one story about, the main dish is in that big old oven, and for some reason the novice comes and sets the self-cleaning facet of the oven, And 4 hours later, not only is the meal dead, but the only thing that's open is the Japanese steakhouse. So, and believe me, they won't have any problem serving 13 people. So, if you're not familiar, again, let the homeowner please set the rules. Josephine, you can set the table. Jack, if you want to get the glasses out and set the table in that direction, you can do that. So, let the general set the rules and be safe in the kitchen. Now, one thing I try to do is before dinner, because there's so many things going on, pots are being piled up in the sink. I try to get someone to go ahead and start cleaning the dishes and throwing them in the dishwasher, because if you can get a load done before dinner, then after dinner it can be unloaded and then reloaded. So give that some thought. Countertops, tend to get overwhelmed. So I try to keep some organization with the countertops. A lot of times because the weather is colder, you can put a lot of the things outdoors just to let them still chill down. Put them in the garage. If you have an outside freezer, you can go ahead and put things in there. And then as the plates need to come out, they can be opened, cooked accordingly, and then presented to the table. To me, if it's a nice day, set up the exterior patio or porch. A fire pit's nice. This way it's also a congregation point. Keep beverages outside that can be stored in coolers. And even if you have snow, that makes a great refrigerator. And again, I think the less people in the house during food preparation is better. So, folks, when it comes time to give prayer, think of everyone that didn't make it to the table. They may not be present, but as I always say during my prayers, not the present under the tree that counts, it's your presence at my table. As it is Sunday, please spend time with friends and family during this holiday season. I look forward to talking to you next week.
Tune in again next week for another edition of the House Whisperer Show with professional home inspector Jack Milne. And to listen to previous programs, or if you have any questions, visit thehousewhisperershow.com. I'm Barry Reisman, and thank you so much for listening to WWDB.